say? I didn't hear. He said.
All right, everybody, welcome. This is the Tuesday, December 19th, Town of Monroe Planning Board regular meeting. Noreen, would you please take attendance?
Nick Napoli.
Here.
Jeff Manson.
Here.
Bonnie Franson. Here. Pat Shea. Here. Dylan Penn.
Here.
With that, let me point out the fire exits. There are two in front of me, to your rear, one in this direction, the main entrance that you came in, and another one out this way to the patio. With that, could we please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Public for God.
Okay, first item on the agenda is public hearing for Pilati Village.
Good evening, everyone. Michael Morgante representing this application. It's before the board. Just to give everybody a quick update, since we were last here, we have essentially addressed all the outstanding comments that were associated with the consultants' comment letters for this particular project. And we also prepared a subdivision map for the planning board's review. And it was deemed at our last meeting, as a result of us addressing those minor items, that we could schedule a public hearing for this particular project tonight. I'd be glad if the board needs me to go over a general presentation for the public, although that's been done now at both the informational meeting and the town board public hearing meeting. So it's the board's pleasure if they'd like me to do that. Otherwise, I can answer any questions or comments right now that the board and its consultants might have. And Chairwoman, you can open up the public hearing whenever you'd like to.
So, Ashley, should we open up the public hearing and then let Mike do the presentation? Just a quick presentation of the subdivision itself for the
Or
record?
do you want to open up the hearing and subdivision and the wetlands permit? So if the presentation, if you want to give just on those two aspects, maybe?
So with that, I will make a motion that we open up the public hearing for the wetland permit that's being sought, as well as the subdivision. May I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions, any nays? Motion carries. If you'd proceed and give us a brief overview of those two applications.
Is it all right if I stand before that TV so
Sure.
I can discuss with the public? Okay.
Yep.
So if you can scroll to possibly even just the next sheet, I'll let you know when to stop. Yeah, and if we can zoom in a little bit. Actually, this is one more sheet, I think, actually. Yeah. Go back to the one you had. It's probably a better scale. We could see the overall plan. There you go. That's fine. So what you have before here right now is the culmination of all the engineering and site planning that's been done both by the development team and it's been reviewed thoroughly by the municipality of Monroe. And this is one of the final steps in this particular process where we are proposing what a potential subdivision plan will be for this project. And so if the public can see the monitor as it stands right now, what we're looking to do is create, can you just zoom in just a little bit more? Go to like 40%. If you can just type it in the upper right, that'll probably work even better. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely better. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're proposing a 4-lot subdivision. This subdivision will consist of the existing convent over here and a triangular piece of property that was originally next to that particular convent. We are combining Blythea Lake at this time with what's going to be lot number 2 over here, which is going to be this 100-unit senior housing complex. And what we are going to do essentially also is subdivide out the cemetery that's located on the north side of Harriman Heights Road, and we're going to connect that to the convent so that the sisters have the ability to maintain and control any operations and maintenance that's associated with the cemetery. Lot number 3 essentially will include the multifamily buildings in this side of the portion of the property right here, as well as the townhouses and that associated wastewater treatment plant that's on that side. That will be Lot 3. And ultimately, this small portion of property right here at the bottom left-hand corner will be Lot 4. That's the soccer field and the associated parking for that soccer field that will ultimately be dedicated to the town of Monroe. So this is the simple 4-lot subdivision that you see before you. We've been through a lot of the details from the development in the past. If there's anything that the public has any additional questions on, we'd be glad to answer it. But as it relates to the subdivision plan, that's pretty much all there is to discuss about it.
Mike, in terms of the wetland permit?
Sure. That you will need to bring up the wetland permit page. So I could probably operate off this, though, if you'd like as well. No, I just emailed you a fresh set of Dropbox links just in case for tonight. So if you take a look at the 11:30 submission, it should be in there. Check that Dropbox. Scroll down a little bit. Scroll up. Keep going. Should be in there. Check the 1024. I don't think it's in there. We just recently saw. It should be in that 1130. It's fine. Go back to the, if you bring up the site plan itself, it'll have all the same information on it. You can go to the 11/30/23 submission. It won't be shown as much on this. Go to the actual site plan itself, the site plan package. Scroll down. Should be Palatine OP11. Go to like the first grading and utility sheet, which should be probably like 3, 4, or 5. Somewhere in that range, maybe a little bit more. Keep going. Keep going. A little more. Keep going. Next sheet. Keep going. Keep going. And there we go. If we can zoom in on just that development area. Yep. And center it, and we should be good. Perfect. Okay. So one of the areas of disturbance, there's an existing entrance located on the southern side over here on Harriman Heights Road. We're reutilizing that entrance as we're doing for most of this particular project. We're trying to utilize areas that were previously built upon. Don't forget, we had buildings on both sides of the road about 2 decades ago or less. And so utilizing this existing road here, there's an actual wetland, an Army Corps of Engineers wetland that's located along our property line. A little bit of it encroaches onto our property, but a majority of it is just about right on the property line. So what we've had to do there is the town of Monroe has a 100-foot buffer associated with its wetland code. So we showed a 100-foot buffer, which is this dark, heavy black double-dotted line. It's a dashed double-dotted line. And we've quantified the disturbance area that's located within that 100-foot buffer. If you scroll down a little bit more, we have the quantities there. Just to the bottom of that same sheet. Yeah, so right over here, town and wetland buffer disturbance in this particular area is about 40,391 square feet. And then if you scroll up just a little bit more, just for the public's understanding where this is, I'll highlight it with my finger. It's this heavy dashed double-dotted line right there. Again, that entrance is existing. We're reutilizing it. But according to today's standards for the town of Monroe with their wetland permit requirements, we're actually filing for a wetland permit now as a result of this particular project. And then if you go to the opposite side of the street, so we can take a look at the buffer disturbances there. So in this particular location here, a majority of our buffer disturbance occurs where we're proposing a stormwater management facility over here. So again, there's an Army Corps of Engineers wetland located around this portion of the property here. In accordance with the Town of Monroe Wetland Code, we've taken a 100-foot buffer. We've quantified the area that's associated with that buffer disturbance. Nice thing about this, and actually in both locations, we're designing stormwater management facilities, so it kind of augments a little bit of what's going on in terms of the wetland in those locations. We'll have plantings in these particular facilities here that will treat the water quality to a higher level of degree within that basin and kind of blend in with the flora that's associated with the wetland nearby it. So I believe those are the two major areas that are associated with the wetland buffer disturbance. I could see the public, but I can't see the board, so. I think at this point, unless there's any other questions or concerns, that kind of concludes my presentation.
Thank you for that. So I think what we'll do, we'll first open it up to the public, see if anybody has comments, and then after that, we will leave the wetland permit part of the public hearing open, but if there aren't really any other comments, we can close it for the subdivision.
I'll ask the applicant to extend the time for rendering a decision on the subdivision, because you're limited by that 62 days, and
We take no exception to that.
thanks.
All right, so is there anybody from the public that would like to come up and make any comments on the proposed subdivision or wetland permit for this application? Sure, come on up. Just state your name and address for the record. You can come up here. It's probably best.
My name is Joy Hyman. I live at 64 Shadowmere Road in Monroe. And as far as the subdivision goes, it said that Blythea Lake is being subdivided along with the now existing convent?
So Blythea Lake is on its own parcel at this time. And I'm like looking toward Mike.
Okay.
And actually a request of the planning board, we were concerned that when the subdivision would happen, especially because there's a wastewater treatment plant and other improvements that are related to the lake, that somehow that lake would get lost in the shuffle, and in theory could be sold separately, which
Okay.
would be problematic. So one of our requests was to attach the lake to one of the parcels so that it was in the same ownership as those.
Yeah, so which parcel?
So it's getting attached to the convent parcel?
That's what it said in the letter, but I thought I heard something different.
Okay.
That's what we had originally discussed, I think, at our last planning board meeting. And then after that, I subsequently had a meeting with the sisters and our development team. We thought it was a better idea to actually combine Blythea Lake with either the 100-unit complex on the south side or the townhouses and multifamilies on the north side, so that the development team is the one that will ultimately have the Speedies permit in their hand, and it makes much more sense for us to be in control of Blythea Lake because they kind of go hand in hand. So in the future, you'll be dealing with the development team and any issues that are associated with Blythea Lake.
Yeah, so the concern is that we want to be able to enforce and go directly to the people who have the infrastructure that are discharging to the lake if there's any issue. So if we separate it, from the sister, well, first of all, if it's left by itself, someone else could entirely own it separately,
Right,
so
but
that
it
was a concern.
my understanding that it was going to be
To the,
to the convent,
so if
which
you
is
have,
also next to it.
right, so if you have concerns, what are your
I
concerns?
guess my concerns are, what does that mean for all of us living around the lake? Who is then taking care of it? who's really doing some oversight there.
Right.
Because, I mean, that's where our houses are.
So if you could just pull the mic closer to you, or I just
Or
heard
I'll
from.
stand closer.
Is the mic on? It, okay. So, yeah, usually you just
There's a
pull it,
button on
there's
the
a
top.
button that you pull up
said it
toward
was
you.
on.
He said it's
Yeah,
on.
it looks like it's on.
Yeah, I think you just have to speak closer to it.
Okay.
So, so in terms of enforcement and care of the lake, it would be whomever owns it. In addition, there are other permits that are going to apply. So if there's a DEC permit for speedies, stormwater, whatever.
Correct.
Also, it can be enforced by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation as
Right.
well.
I mean, we're not going to, like, drive down the road one day and it's fenced off and we're told not to fish or use our kayaks in it, or...
There's nothing like that shown on.
There's nothing
the
at this
plan.
time that we're proposing of that nature. But
Well, I know, but now it becomes in, like, forever, because it's no longer, you know, the people down the road who...
correct, but for us, the most important factor is, again, whoever controls that wastewater treatment plant probably also needs to control the lake because they go hand in hand.
Oh,
And it-
I would only ask a question to that end. The lake is owned by the sisters.
Yes.
Does everybody around have easements to use the lake?
I'm not sure about that. I know that the houses on the back of Shadowmere, so once you pass the lake, that we all have deeded lake rights.
Okay,
So
so it's
beyond-
in your deed?
It's in our deed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't really know about everybody else
okay,
on the other side or at the head of the road.
right.
But I know that the 5 houses past the lake all have deeded lake rights.
Okay. So whoever has deeded lake rights
Continue to have those
presumably
rights.
continue. We, as a planning board, because this came up with another application, I mean, we can't enforce a private right, but we certainly know that the plans do not show fences, you know, so
Right.
we're not
I'm just-
anticipating, yeah.
I kind of, you know, this
understood.
is new to me.
Yeah,
And there's all kinds of alarm bells, but I haven't had time to digest it or look into it, so I don't even know the appropriate questions to ask
Right,
at this
right.
point in time.
yeah. So again, it's privately owned. You have private in your deeds, lake rights that continue regardless of whatever action we take. There's nothing that's inhibiting right now the ability to, on the plans, when I say right now, on the plans to limit that. There are proposed improvements that are related to the lake, and so the proposal by the applicant is to attach the lake to one of the developments so that there's a relationship between the development that's being
I
served.
totally get that, but
Yeah.
it does not ease my mind at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah, understood.
Yeah, because that just, I don't know.
Yeah,
It,
So, you know, all I can say is the wetland permit, the subdivision application, depending on comments we hear tonight, you know, those we wouldn't take action on this evening.
Okay.
So if you have comments, you can still submit something in writing for our consideration,
okay,
so.
okay,
Okay,
thank you.
you're welcome. Anybody else have comments on this application? Anything? All right, so should I entertain a motion to close the subdivision portion of the public hearing, but leave the wetland permit application, public hearing open
That date would be January 6th.
to January 16th? Okay,
As
so,
far as the subdivision, I don't know if you wanted to give a time for written comments on the subdivision?
yeah, I will. And also, so we're not going to we don't have to give public notice, we're just continuing it to January 16th, correct?
Well, wetlands,
The wetlands.
hearing you, it's being published.
Oh, it will be published, okay.
That one doesn't get made.
Okay, so I will make a motion that we close the subdivision public hearing subject to the fact that the applicant's representative has consented to waiving the 62-day timeframe within which the planning board has to act. May I have a second? Shall I include that shall I include that in the, how long do we want to leave for public comment? To a couple weeks? 15. To the 15? So what does that take us out to about? Like the 5th, do we want to say? That would be Friday the 5th. Wait. I think the 5th is reasonable. That'll be still before the next meeting, and if there's anything we want to consider. So I'm going to amend that motion just to include that we can receive written comments up until January 5th,
4 p.m.
24 by 4 p.m. All right. You made the second, Pat? All right. Noreen?
Napoli.
Aye.
Jeff Manson.
Aye.
Bonnie Francis.
Aye.
Pat Shea. Dylan Penn.
Aye.
Okay. So that closes the subdivision portion of the public hearing. Wetland permit remains open. We'll take written comments.
If you wanted to approve a motion to wetlands permit January 6th.
Okay. So we will, I will make a motion that we adjourn the wetland permit public hearing until January 16th at 6:30 or soon thereafter. 6 or as soon thereafter. I have too many meeting time frames. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Noreen?
Napoli.
Aye.
Jeff Manson.
Aye.
Bonnie Franson.
Aye.
Pat Shea. Dylan Penn.
Aye.
All right. Now, are there any comments we have to go through at this point?
No new comments.
And Ashley, anything you want to raise?
Sorry, I think I just was too far away. Nothing procedurally. I did prepare a draft resolution for the site plan portion of the application for the board's consideration this evening.
So, quick question. Can we approve a site plan if the wetland permit isn't approved? It's almost which comes first, because without a wetland permit, then the site plan can't function the way it needs to.
So it is a conditional site plan approval, and one of the conditions to satisfy before signing the plans is getting that wetlands permit application. So they won't have final site plan approval until you have that wetlands permit, among other things.
We take no
Understand
exception.
that? Yes. Board members, do you have any other questions at this? Oh, you have a comment? Okay, go ahead.
Maybe it's something I'm just unclear on. When I was looking at the architecturals from December 1st, I believe it was, from Coppola Associates, and looking at building 2 and 3, if I gather correctly, if I understand correctly, I don't know if you have these. Like, I'm looking at building 3 for a moment, which is A5. There's a basement portion and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 units shown and labeled first floor plan. And then the second floor plan has a number of units. Those units only total 18. But what I think is probably correct is in the front of the building, you're actually entering on the first floor, which is apartments front and back. But if you go around the back of the building, because it's at a lower grade, it's apartments around the back. So I think the labeling is just unclear, because if I was doing a unit count just based on first and second floor, I'd get 18 units. I'm on A5, A3 is probably the same, which would be building 2. So on something else, it was labeled lower level and then first floor and second floor. And again, I'm assuming that the first floor and second floor architecturals mirror each other.
That's correct.
Right, that the 3-bedroom is above a 3-bedroom and a 2-bedroom is above a 2-bedroom. So I think it's just unclear the way this is labeled, and I would suggest that, for clarity's sake, that
We
be.
can take a look at that. I will say this. I believe a portion.
Mike, your mic.
I believe a portion of the lower level is for storage, so you may not see a full mirror of the first floor and the second floor. You follow what I'm saying too? The portion, I believe, of the basement that's going to kind of be buried that we can't get windows within is going to be like some type of, yeah. So I think that's probably what you may be seeing in terms of a little bit of a discrepancy.
That's not what I thought at first, but then I took another look at everything and looking at the elevations, it made more sense. And the way that the entrances to the building were laid out. Again, I think that the labeling on A3 and A5 are just a little confusing because of that. Because from what I anticipate, if I'm around the back of the buildings, I'm actually seeing 3 stories of windows. And again, it's a grading thing. Listen, that's how my house works. You can't see the front. The front is basement, but the back is exposed.
Sure.
My other thing is, question/comment. So I saw something that we had discussed when we were doing the environmental review as far as the main entrance to the seniors building on the southern portion. And we talked a little bit about making sure that the front main entryway was accessible. Now, I see all the places on the plans where you've added handicap ramps and the details of those. What I'm not clear about is, so there's 5 parking spaces across. What would be the middle space, is that merely a long ramp that leads to the parking? So if, say, somebody's being dropped off, or,
Yeah,
where can I get a good
can't
detail
see
of that?
it, from here.
Let's see.
If it's okay if I come to that monitor, because I can't see that from here.
I'm just going to see better sheet.
You know what? MDP1 probably would, sheet 6. I'm talking about this here.
Yeah, that's like,
That,
it's like a little, so
it's
this,
not a space.
no, that's a little port, that's like a little tunnel.
Right.
And that's a loading area. So,
Right, so there's no, it's not a parking space, so if someone gets dropped off, they can pass through here,
this,
and there's a little handicap ramp here.
yep, that's right. This symbol needs to be placed there and there. That's what's missing, the handicap symbol. May need to be placed there and there. But this is a handicap loading space for us. Actually, this may not be. This is just a ramp to get into. It's got to be a clear ramp to get into the building. So we have adequate parking here for ADA, but that's got to remain an open area so that people.
Right, so that's just it, that's what we were talking about,
Yes, sorry about that.
was making sure that they had clear access if they were being dropped
Correct.
off.
That's just a striped area there so that
Right.
people can get into and out of.
Passenger,
Exactly
dial a
right.
bus, taxi,
Correct.
whatever it is.
Yes,
That was
correct.
my concern. Okay, good, so that's addressed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, with that, I'll actually leave this open in case we have to refer back to it. And I will go to. Ashley, you didn't send another, right? We'll just make,
That, I sent
just that one?
At 6:13.
all right. So we'll run through this resolution of conditional approval. Nature of application, Parish Property Management, Inc. The applicant has applied for site plan approval to permit the construction of a 178-unit cluster residential development known as Pilati Village on approximately 89.1878 acres. Project site consists of 2 parcels that would be merged into a single contiguous parcel of land prior to final site plan approval. First phase of the project, phase 1, is the southern side of Harriman Heights Road. That's the 100-unit senior housing building, and that's 88 one-bedrooms and 12 two-bedroom units. Existing public water supply well located in front of the proposed building will be abandoned, and water service will be from 2 no public water supply wells. One will be conveyed to the existing 20,000 gallon per day wastewater treatment plant located behind Building 1, and then there'll also be stormwater management facilities. And phase 1 includes preservation of approximately 66% of the southern site as open space. Do we have an acreage for that? The 66%?
If you look at the calculation is on my site plan sheet. So I give the actual acreage of open space, divided by the total area, and that's where you get your percentage. I think that's the overall percentage for the site, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, we could go back. Okay. Second phase is proposed on the northern side of Harriman Heights Road, and the central portion of the northern site includes 2 30-unit multifamily buildings containing a total of 24 one-bedroom, 24 two-bedroom, 12 three-bedroom units, 2 4-unit townhouse buildings containing a total of 2 bedroom units and 6 bedroom units, 5-unit townhouse buildings containing 4 two-bedroom soccer field in the southwestern portion of the northern site to be used or to be dedicated to town of Monroe. Excuse me. Phase 2 includes a water treatment building, 2 public water supply wells, and wastewater will be conveyed to the existing 25,000 gallon per day wastewater treatment plant located behind the existing Pilates Center. And it too will have stormwater management facilities, tax maps, Town of Monroe, tax parcels 33-1-1.21 and 35-1-4. And then they're going to be merged into a single contiguous parcel of land prior to final site plan approval, but then they will be subdivided subsequent to that. Property is located in the RR1 zoning district and within the, well, it's actually now Conservation Cluster Residential Zone, isn't it? Because the floating zone has landed. So I don't know if we say that it's in the RR1. I think it's just in the Conservation Cluster Residential Zone. So we should probably update that. Plans and submittals, the resolution outlines the various reports and studies, environmental and otherwise, that have been submitted in support of the proposed application. Referencing the this application was submitted and filed with the planning board July 12th, 2021. So it's obviously been in front of us for over 2 years. There was no requirement for a public hearing on the site plan application, but we did have a public information session on November 10th, 2022. The action was a type 2-1 action, and we circulated for coordinated seeker review, and we issued a negative declaration on March 9th, 2023, and determined it would not have significant adverse impacts. And at the same time, January 24, 2021, applicant had petitioned the town board for the CCR floating zone, was subsequently amended, and then it was approved September 18th, 2023. So that essentially landed on the site, and so now we're in the process of considering the site plan for the site. The GML, because of its location, this had to be referred to the Orange County Planning Department for review and report, recommended approval of the application and contained advisory comments, and throughout the process we have considered those advisory comments and incorporated same into this approval as we've deemed appropriate. So these are our findings. Planning board has determined that approval of the site plan will substantially serve the public convenience, safety, and welfare, have a harmonious relationship with existing or permitted development, et cetera. And then planning board also determines, based upon the present and anticipated future need for park and recreational facilities, project presents a proper case for requiring a park or parks suitably located for playgrounds and other recreational or other. So planning board finds that the proposed town soccer field on the site is suitable recreation area of adequate size to meet the town's requirements.
The board to make this evening, whether this is usually, you don't have a development that's proposing a recreation area, so usually you always require the fee in lieu. Here, there's a proposed soccer field that is proposed to be dedicated to the town, so the question then for the board is whether you find that to be suitable to serve that purpose, or?
I think this has been in front of us for a while, and the town board has weighed in on the need for recreational facilities in town soccer field. So I'm of the mind that it would be our recommendation that we find that that's appropriate. So instead of requiring a fee in lieu of land, the town is getting a soccer field and other recreational resources. Any discussion, any thoughts on that or alternative thoughts?
I also think that that's an adequate provision. What I can't remember, because it's been a while since we last discussed this, it was a little bit back and forth, at least at the beginning when we first started talking about the project, on whether the town or the applicant would be, I guess, doing would it just be subdivided off and dedicated over to the town as parkland, and then they can create the soccer field, or was the developer also creating the soccer field as part of the project?
So we've had that discussion with the town. There is going to be some work, the town board that is. There is going to be some work that the applicant is going to do for the town on behalf of that construction of that soccer field. I think we'll probably iron out some of those details in a developer's agreement. But we are committed to doing some work for that soccer field, yes.
I mean, I think just in light of that, that's just added value
Yes.
against collecting a parkland fee and in favor of finding that we do the soccer field rather instead.
So should we, any other discussion? Everybody good with the soccer field? So, yes, Sean.
Sorry, if I could just, it was my understanding that the developer was going to be shown, creating of the soccer field, the parking lot, and construction of the park.
That's what I recall as our discussion as
Okay.
well, yes, yeah.
That would be appropriate, because if the finding that's suitable is finding it suitable because it's going to be constructed, so
Okay, so this focuses on suitable recreation area of adequate size. Is there a condition, or should we add some language that the applicant is going to construct all improvements shown on the plan?
and I think that's covered by some of the conditions.
Okay, so
Later on.
that's considered elsewhere.
So then I'd take out the or sentence, that or fee in lieu.
Neighborhood residents thereof.
We have a condition in there that they are not to be substituted or changed unless they come back for planning board approval with regard to the architectural design. Because, for instance, I don't want to see one kind of window and then suddenly we get small windows, or one style of door and suddenly we get something different.
Yes, you do have a condition.
Okay.
That's all been also depicted on the latest architectural plans. That was one of the architectural review comment letters from Sean's office. They asked us to put window types, moldings, doors, all that stuff on the plan, so it's actually on there.
So I was looking at it, I just want to make sure that they're not substituted without
That's
coming back.
language
It's
it's
one
worth
thing if
adding.
it looks exactly the
Sure.
same and it goes from Anderson to something else, but when, I've seen some projects where you go from one size window to some little bitty window, that kind of a change are the kinds that in particular I'd want to know.
That starts on, there's a whole section dedicated to that, starting on page 24.
Okay. Following improvements have been identified as necessary public improvements. And so this lists what those improvements are. So we have paved parking lots for town soccer field. That's the only thing that we have to consider?
So the town soccer field is then listed at in the last one.
Oh, okay.
That was just the way they were ordered in the
Got it.
the
Okay.
code section.
Specific conditions. This approval is subject to a final engineering review of the plan set, stormwater pollution prevention plan. Prior to signing of the plans, applicant shall revise the plans to show a single contiguous parcel on all plan sheets and remove all references to the subdivision. Prior to the signing of the plans, applicant shall delineate the scenic road buffer on the plans. Scenic buffer note shall be revised to change stone wall to any stone walls and/or stone pillars. Are those being,
They're being maintained.
Okay.
Yeah, that was something we discussed a long time ago.
any have to be upgraded or
No,
or
at this
fixed?
time, right now, nothing needs to be changed.
Okay,
I mean, other than the fact that we'll probably remove some of the vines from them and clean them up a little bit, but other than that, they'll
Okay.
remain intact as is.
So what'll happen where there are more entrance roads into the property now than will be in the new development. So there'll obviously be openings in the stone walls where they exist, where those roads were.
Correct.
Will those be changed at all? Will the wall be made continuous there, or will something be placed to prevent
So
people from entering the property that,
we
you
still
know,
have
in
to
that
get,
spot?
we still have to get an Orange County Department of Public Works final approval from them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure they're going to make us remove the pavement for the entrances that are not going to be utilized. We can look at closing those walls, but I would be a little concerned that it would be not, it would be too dissimilar. I don't know that we could find the same
Yeah,
stones
yeah,
and
yeah.
same weathering.
you might be able to put something in, so sometimes under historic standards, you don't want to add something, it's just not gonna look right, it's gonna look like a patch job.
Yeah.
But you could put in something like attractive metal fencing, let's say if you had to put something in that still is architectural, but, you know, again, you're not touching the stone wall itself. I want to say that there's some metal.
That might actually add to the scenic value.
I was thinking more like a wrought iron kind of, yeah, something, some kind of,
Well,
yeah.
So I'm thinking, doesn't Mansion Ridge maybe have some decorative fencing? Say that, so it actually may be
Yeah.
nice to, if we're going to add something, take a look at what Mansion Ridge has for continuity.
We can do that.
Okay. Okay. Prior to signing of plans, applicant should revise tree preservation note. Prior to signing plans, revise tree plan notes. Again, just references to site plan, subdivision versus site plan. Applicant shall provide building department with proof of the filing with the Orange County Clerk of a restrictive covenant in such form as is acceptable to the planning board attorney requiring compliance with the tree plan, town of Monroe preservation law, setting forth property owner's obligation to preserve, maintain in good condition, and not alter the portion of the stone walls and/or stone pillars within the scenic buffer zone located in the property. And then deeds for any future subdivision lot shall reference such restrictive covenant. You have to pay town parkland account a fee of $750 per tree. Is it called the parkland account? Like a town tree account, or maybe it's all put in the same place? We'll just check that then. It's not like our dedicated parkland
It is the-
account, right?
Well, it says to the town parkland account.
Okay. Notation set forth in town court shall be included on the erosion and sediment control plans. Provide the building department with proof of the filing with the Orange County Clerk of a maintenance easement agreement in a form acceptable to the town attorney and binding on all subsequent owners, providing for the future operation and maintenance of the stormwater management facilities. Separate listing of all site plan approval conditions.
12 is going to be not requiring the fee in lieu of parkland.
So then we have applicant must obtain a local wetlands disturbance permit. That's prior to final site plan approval, applicant shall, or prior to signing of the plans. Enter into an agreement with the town and a form acceptable town attorney for the dedication of the public water and wastewater facilities. And then there has to be proof of other agency approvals, and those are listed in the table on the resolution. There are various other permits or approvals from the Town of Monroe Town Board, Orange County DPW, Health Department, State DOH, DEC. Why yet for it?
Say that again?
Why yet for, or not yet?
It's too early to submit for an NOI, yeah. I would do that probably once the final site plans are signed, we know what everything is, and they're getting ready for construction. I'll submit, usually about a month before.
U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And then you'll copy us on all correspondence with any of the agencies listed above.
Yes.
Open space conservation easement. Open space areas designated in the plan shall be preserved in perpetuity. Applicant shall record a conservation easement providing for the preservation of the designated open space in favor of the town of Monroe jointly with a reputable land trust acceptable to the town board, or shall dedicate such land to the town of Monroe's parkland with a conservation easement held by such reputable land trust. Instrument shall be in form suitable for recording and shall be satisfactory in form to the town attorney. Should be town planning board attorney and attorney, based upon review of the planning board attorney. Or are you involved in the review as well?
Usually the easement itself is approved by the town attorney.
Okay. Does this allow for the potential that there may not be a land trust, an alternative? As far as who the,
To dedicate it to the town.
Yeah.
okay, but as far as a
But
conservation easement?
The easement is to be held by the reputable land trust.
Can the conservation easement run to the town as well, if necessary?
CCR requires that it be held jointly by the town and a land trust, or dedicated to the town with the easement held by the land trust.
No, local land. We say local land trust, correct, or reputable? I would just want to be, well, it's dedicated to the town. If ultimately it's dedicated to the town, it doesn't matter. It's not being dedicated to a land trust. No. It would otherwise stay with the property owner and then have a conservation easement on it?
Yeah, so it would either be it would stay with the property owner, and the conservation easement would be held by both the town and a land trust, or it's dedicated to the land with an easement held by a land trust.
Is the public allowed to use this open space area? Would we be able to use it for trails or anything like that?
I know the applicant's concerned about liability.
If they hold it?
Correct, yeah.
Perhaps that's something we can address between now and,
I think that would be, if it was held by the town,
yeah.
that would be different, but if it's held by the,
Yeah, if we work that out and there's a different entity, then there's different circumstances, sure.
Because it's so we have a pretty nice trail system, and then you're talking about going toward, Sterling Forest and toward that end, so it'd be nice if it were possible to put a trail in.
Okay.
I guess we'll talk to the town board about that. Conservation easement or dedication should provide for the maintenance of the open space area. Prior to signing of the plans, limits of conservation easement area shall be marked with permanent markers. Must be recorded prior to signing of the plans with proof of such recording submitted to the building department. Okay, workforce housing and age-restricted units. 36 units shall be restricted to sale or lease to families earning less than 100% of the area median income as determined by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Adequate means of enforcing and administering the restriction for a period of no less than 30 years shall be provided in a form satisfactory to the town attorney. Sale and lease of all income restrictive units shall be made available to the general public on an ongoing basis. Where allowed under law, a waiting system that gives preference to existing town residents, public servants, local emergency service volunteers, or other identified selected groups may be proposed. And 22 just gets into how these workforce housing units are distributed. And then all 100 units in the proposed senior housing complex shall be restricted to sale or lease to families where at least one person is over the age of 55 and no permanent resident is under the age of 18. And then there should be adequate measures to enforce and administer the restriction. Does that get the same language in terms of preferences given to town of Monroe residents, et cetera, et cetera?
For which?
For the 100 units, for the senior units. So for the 36 units, we talk about the waiting system. Can the same language be added for the other units, the senior units, or no?
That's straight from the code itself.
Okay. Doesn't have this.
Affordable fair housing elements of that, which is different from senior. I don't know that you can.
Okay. I guess we could if the applicant wanted to voluntarily have that waiting system.
The actual applicants and developers are here. I don't know that I want to make a final committal to that, but I do recall having a discussion with the town board where we were fine with any of the senior housing units being made
Also,
available to the town residents first. I know those discussions have been had in the past.
can we just add some language in that says that the option of weighing the needs of whatever shall be finalized before final approval or something to that effect? Hello? Nate, hi, name for the record.
Hi, William O'Connor, I'm the applicant. Thank you again for your consideration. We're subject to state financing rules. And
Right.
so some of the things that you've talked about here in terms of restrictions and what have you, we cannot even submit our application to the state without an approved site plan.
Right.
So we're happy, and I think we talked to the town about this in the beginning, inside of their parameters for advertising available units, there are certain things we can do, like advertise first within a 2-mile radius before we do it in a 10-mile radius, 50-mile radius. But we can't restrict it, certain population coming in here from the town. The state won't allow that. That won't be part of their funding requirements. So again, anything that we can do within their restrictions, we will endeavor to do.
Yeah, I think we were just talking about town of Monroe. It wasn't particular groups, but just more
Right,
geographic
town of Monroe. So again,
location.
from a marketing standpoint, how we market this to the general public, right? Which if we get more takers than we have, then it's subject to a lottery. But the way you do it when there's something like this is you market first within a certain area. And that's how typically you will get those people coming and applying first. But again, we're subject to the restrictions that the state places upon us.
What about something similar to add into that specific condition number 22? Where allowed under law, a waiting system that gives preference to existing town residents via a waiting may be proposed for the senior housing units.
Is where allowed.
Yeah, we're permitted by
And then-
state law, yeah. That's
And then I think otherwise, the applicant has acknowledged that for both types of housing, advertising shall consider local resident participation first.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're good with that.
So something to that effect.
As long as it gives us the out that where we're permitted to do it.
Right.
Right.
So we're just going to add something to the effect of, for both types of housing, the applicant shall, where allowed, the applicant shall advertise for local applications.
Using local media and
Using local
within the
media
town of Monroe.
within the town of Monroe, something to that effect.
Restricted and for the
Yes.
are allowed under the law, the applicant shall use local advertisement.
In the town of Monroe.
It's all income restricted, just so that we know, right? Workforce and the senior housing. It's all affordable housing, so to speak.
Are allowed under law, the applicant shall use local advertisement in the town of Monroe for the workforce housing and senior housing units.
In other words, shall market the units to local town residents. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so common areas goes just into the HOA. And HOA certificate of incorporation, et cetera, has to be attorney. Gets into what the HOA requirements are. Again, 26, a lot more about the HOA. Dissolved, et cetera. Then we get to plan development, deed restrictions, covenants, and easements. So to show the common areas. Common property. Proof of filing. Various proof of filings that have. Filings. A lot of legalese. Site and structure improvements. Improve the quality of the environment, reduce inconvenience during bad weather. Underground utilities. Provide all various utilities and connections. Facilities shall be built to the approval of town engineer. Public improvement security agreement is required. Again, just goes into the requirements of the public improvement security agreement. Then there's construction requirements. Restrictions for the bat removal, various mitigations, and then we also have some mitigations for potential timber rattlesnakes. Disturbance to slopes. There. This time, no blasting is authorized by the approval. Only mechanical ripping or hammering will be used. And should blasting be required, applicant would return to the planning board. Subject to a SWIP. All fill should be clean. Potable water and appropriate technologies. These are the comments on the architecture. And so we were just going to make sure it said, any revision shall return to the planning board, any substitutions or something to that effect. future subdivision and merger. So that talks about Blythia Lake. And then dedication of the town soccer field. The town soccer field, property and all improvements. feel like I'm having.
Hello? Asking Ashley a question, should the 60 be up?
Right. I'm having the same issue.
Conditioned on the applicant's construction and dedication of the proposed soccer field.
For the town, I would say town soccer field, property and all improvements. As set forth, yeah, as shown on the site plan, yeah, that's good.
Related improvements, because you're talking about the parking lot and that bioretention facility.
Shown on the,
It'll say on dedication of the proposed town soccer field and all related improvements shown on the site plan.
Right, and then there's a section on general conditions, and these are standard conditions added to various site plan resolutions with regard to fees, entity disclosure statements, site plans binding, changes require resubmission, reapproval to the planning board, time period that the approval is effective. And that is it. All right. Members, any comments, any other conditions that you can think of?
Two things. Can you go back to page 9, please? Bottom of page 9 is designation of CCR. Oh, sorry, it's above the GML review? Yeah. Okay, so we did, all right, so we changed
And
that.
I did change that also to read, that first sentence is going to read that they petitioned for CCR own designation, voting zone designation. I removed floating out of that first sentence.
Yeah, my question was in the second sentence, did we catch that it was 2023 rather than 22? We
Yeah,
did.
Sean did catch that earlier.
And so I understand there's a provision that prior to the signing of the plans, that the fee for tree removal is taken care of. Is there anything, so we know that the fee removal per tree is set by the code. Do we have to do anything as far as that in relation to our provisions saying, okay, this is how many trees are being removed, this is how many, so this is going to be the fee? Or we're not really setting the fee, the code does, and we just have to see that it was taken care of prior to the final signing.
Yes, so
Okay.
your condition just speaks to in the code, which is $750 per tree being removed and not replaced, excluding any trees that are determined to be dead or by the planning board's landscape architect. So the final number potentially might change if something, they go out there and something maybe wasn't previously dead, now is, that kind of thing. So that gives you the leeway there.
Got it.
Your comments? So, with regard to 750 per tree, I know that town board had talked about changing the law, or that fee could change. So, would it be better to say a fee in the, in a fee and an amount set forth or by the town board rather than saying a specific number? Because this locks us into, does this lock us into 750? Because let's say tomorrow they change it to 500, right?
Right, could it read, as per the fee relating under whatever the current town code is at the time they go to pay the fee, rather than dictated by what it happens to be on the day we're doing this? Or does it have to be based on, because we're doing the approval today, that's what it's based on?
Right
think-
now, it's written prior to the signing of the plan, so.
Right.
Prior to the signing of the plans, the applicant shall pay to the town parkland account a fee per tree.
An amount set forth by the town board or something?
Set by the,
Tree regulation. The tree regulation code that's in
Yeah.
effect at that time?
I don't know if the fees are standard fee schedule. Probably is.
is in the code itself, so I don't know. And I know we had a draft of that law. I could see whether they're proposing to keep it in the law itself or
Usually, it's easier to put it in
the resolution.
schedule.
Then you could change it just by
Because then
resolution.
you, right, exactly. But I think I would just broaden out that language, just in case, because there's always been this thought that they're going to amend it, but it hasn't happened yet.
Amount set by the town in the tree preservation law or otherwise.
Or
Reel it in. No, I'm okay, thank you.
all right, everybody good? Yes? Someone want to make a motion for approval?
Nominate Jeff to make the motion.
Second.
Now we have to approve that
So
one.
then by order of election, I will move that we approve this provisional resolution for the project known as Pilati Village,
Subject to the amendments as set forth.
subject to the amendments as set forth.
Second.
Thank you, Pat.
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Bonnie Franson,
Aye.
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Dylan Penn.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll see you again in January.
Thank you very much tonight for the site plan approval. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Ditto. Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
That's your present.
Before you print plans again, call me.
Yes, we'll do.
I'm gonna have a farm fire at Ashley's house.
My PDF is locked.
Yeah, leave it blank and then
Did
she
you?
can do it. If
Oh.
it gets signed, I mean, I
I
can
have to
always
get
swing
out
by,
it. I may have to,
print it, and-
I have to force it.
Because I have, do I sign these? Or just Bonnie and the
Bonnie
town
and the-
clerk? So if Bonnie signs it, she can bring it to the town clerk to sign it.
I was gonna say. I'm just
Got a
trying
new
to,
keyboard. It's gotta be installed.
here we go. All right. So you guys ready for next item? Okay, next item on the agenda, returning projects is 127 Seven Springs Road. Hello? I'm going to ask Jeff to take over, just so I can excuse myself for a moment. Go below my nose.
Good evening.
Good evening.
If you can just reintroduce yourself for the
Sure.
record, please.
My name is Chris Fritzl. I'm an engineer with Lankin Tully. Tonight I'm representing the 127 Seven Springs project.
Sorry, I didn't catch your last name?
Fritzl, would you like me to spell it?
Yes, please.
Fritzl. You got it. So yeah, we're here tonight to speak about zoning. I know there have been some prior discussions about the bulk regulations in particular on this project. Since then, we reached out to the building inspector, and he provided an interpretation on the zoning. And based off of his interpretation, it appears that we can move forward with the whole line of bulk regulations under central sewer.
So my understanding is that the question was, because it was located in a sewers district, there was the potential opportunity for there to be sewer service. There's not currently sewer service to that site, but because it's within a sewer district, the building inspector has made the determination that that qualifies for us to treat it as if it was with central sewer.
Well, I think for that particular part of it, there was a local law adopted, and that addressed the fact that it was within a sewer district but not served by sewer. But the building inspectors, I believe, was, you guys could correct me if I'm wrong, I wasn't here at the prior.
Maybe if you want, I could summarize it quickly. So that sewer law said that if you're in a sewer district but you don't have sewer and you meet certain conditions, including that your lot's been in existence for a year or you're proposed as a minor subdivision, you can benefit from, the way the law was written, it said you'd get the reduced lot area for lots with central sewer, but the question was whether it's just the reduced lot area or if it was all of those reduced bulk requirements. So that did go to the building inspector for a determination, so he has determined that basically you get that whole line of the with central sewer, even though you're not going to have the central sewer. So in order, though, to get that, as I said, there's a few requirements. So you have to be in a public sewer district, which I believe they are. You have to, if you're part of a subdivision, the lot has to be part of a minor subdivision, not a major subdivision. So in order to be a minor subdivision, you have to, there's a limit on the number of lots, which they do meet. You can't have any new town roads or new, I believe, water, sewer mains, that kind of thing. And then the one other item is that you need to comply with the zoning code and and can't conflict with any provisions of the code or the official plan. So, I'm sorry, I missed one. It needs to not adversely affect the development of the remainder of the parcel or adjoining property. So that's something for the planning board to determine, that you consider this is not going to adversely affect the development of the remainder of the parcel or any adjoining property, and then also that it complies with zoning. So with the zoning, I did have a question. I couldn't quite tell that the town code has a provision that prohibits rear dwellings, where you can't have a dwelling behind another dwelling. I don't know whether a portion of the one on Lot 3 might be behind the portion of the dwelling on, I think, Lot 2. So I'm sure that could, though, be shifted and worked out fine.
I believe in this current layout, it may kind of, it's close, but we could definitely shift it. I mean, there's plenty of room.
Draw that out. I'm sure you could work that out. So that would be in order to find it as a minor subdivision. And then one other requirement for that sewer law to apply would be a certification regarding the wastewater disposal system. So a licensed PE has to certify and the town engineer verify based on observing the soil tests and a review of the wastewater disposal system, that it can be occupied and the wastewater disposed of without resulting in a danger to public health, personal property, and that adequate separation distances exist to protect the existing public and private wells. So those are kind of the requirements in order to get that reduced bulk requirements. And I don't know whether there's been, as far as the wastewater, I think there probably needs to be more submission or discussion on that, but I think.
Yeah, on the wastewater, we have done preliminary soil testing, and we're looking to schedule with Sean's office, hopefully in the next few weeks, to get those witnessed. But at this time, we're really just looking for direction on the zoning, so we could proceed with our design, now that we have the interpretation from the building inspector.
So, when you suggest direction on the zoning, I mean, the building inspector has determined that you're eligible to use the bulk table as is laid out. So, I mean, I don't see how we don't proceed with that.
Very good.
That we don't use that, and that you're able to, if I remember correctly from the origins of this application, without that was going to mean reduced development as compared to what's being proposed under the three lots, two family houses.
Correct.
Right. Does any of the rest of the board have any comments or questions about that? Right? I mean, seems fairly straightforward and clear, and in part, my understanding, just going back to when they were working on this law, was to provide for what's being proposed here. So, I mean, I think it's in keeping with the intent of what the town board was going for when they created this two-family zoning overlay. So we're seeing it put to use. Okay, that works for me.
Very good.
Great.
Yeah.
So what's next steps for you then from here?
Like I said, we're going to schedule the soil test with Sean's office, and then kind of move forward with the design. We do have to address that one rear, the rear lot. Yeah, it's pretty close, so that's minor. But we're going to come back with a full design, and hopefully at that time we can make a secret determination and get a public hearing scheduled.
Make that submission. Can you have revised EAF? Because I don't think it's been resubmitted since the
Sure.
project's changed.
Yeah, that's no problem.
And site plan inspection.
Okay, yeah, I'll make a note of that.
I think we only have,
Got it.
And I'm trying to remember. I remember there was an easement between this property and the property next door as far as access, and that was, again, part of the issue with how we wound up landing on the three lots. Is there going to be a private road in the subdivision to provide access to the three lots?
No.
Or is it a shared driveway? Do we
They
allow?
each have their own
They each have
driveway.
their own separate driveway from a common entry point?
From a, no. They're
Separate for each.
three curb
Three
cuts.
separate entries.
Correct.
Got it.
so I had a question that maybe the board should discuss on the layout of Lot 3. So if, as you mentioned, there's a 5-foot easement that's along southern boundary line, that the question is if the applicant and the adjoining property owner in the future is going to be proposing a roadway or other access way, that the setbacks for Lot 3 should be taken from that 25-foot easement in order to prevent hardship setback doesn't comply in the future.
Would that, if that was the case, would that be prohibitive for the layout that you're thinking now?
It may be, considering the lot widths would be adjusted on that. At this time, there's no road being planned in the future. I don't personally know the history of the easement, but there's no road being proposed as part of this application. And we didn't really find anything in the town code either, which stated that we'd need to take the setbacks from the easement, and that's kind of how we landed on this layout here.
The question is, if applicant next proposes a roadway because they have the right to construct it, how does that affect the Lot 3 setbacks? Bonnie, these were some
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we could take another look at the layout. A possible solution to this, maybe we could have one of the proposed driveways within that easement or just off of it.
Well, my question would be, so now this property is developed, and now later on, the adjacent landowner comes and wants to use their easement and create a private road. It's not a self-imposed issue for our applicant currently, and would it be for the applicant in the future if they decided to use the easement that way? Because as long as they met the setbacks on their side of this now new proposed private road. It's not, again, it's not an issue on the 127 property. If indeed they, in the future, should find themselves out of compliance because something was built in the future, or am I wrong about that?
I mean,
So
I
is this what
think-
we're looking at right now? Is that the layout?
No, I believe that's an older layout.
It
Yeah,
would be
that's the-
different if it was currently.
It's now 3 lots.
Okay.
If
So
it
that
was currently an improved street, that would essentially require the.
Right.
It would make it a corner lot, then you'd have to, apply the front yard setbacks on both,
Yeah.
but I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know that there's anything for purposes of this application that would,
What was the issue?
Is that 25? Question is, should the side yard be, or I should say, should that be a front yard? Should the applicant next door construct the roadway within the easement?
It would become a front yard. So is the issue, would there be a setback issue? Would the setbacks have to change?
Create a self-created tree, should the developer next door build?
Which only becomes an issue if the owner of Lot 3 comes back either to the planning board or the zoning board proposing to do something different. They'll be limited.
Correct.
And right, I get that the argument in front of the ZBA could be at that point, well,
Well, yeah.
So before, there was a cul-de-sac here, in that other arrangement that I just popped up,
Correct.
right, here.
It's with single family.
And this was with single family. The two family.
Correct.
But why are we not doing a cul-de-sac still?
It was kind of cost prohibitive, and this layout works.
Plus the fact that for being a minor subdivision and out because they don't public road
Okay.
allows them to use lot areas and setbacks with a septic
that new
under
zero.
the new.
Not that new.
right, the issue is with the adjoining property owner and that because they were first to the table, now as soon as because there was going to be 4 lots, as soon as they added one more lot, it has to be a public road, all those things have to then come into play. So it gave that lot owner effectively no opportunity to subdivide and really develop that property.
So I guess my thought, rather than having these all front to Seven Springs Road, I wouldn't mind if they came off a cul-de-sac, if ultimately that other property is going to use that easement area. But can they do a private road for now until that happens in the future? Or no, we don't allow the private roads? Assuming you could still meet all the,
Right.
because I think you would get wider lots. And I don't necessarily want you putting in a cul-de-sac, a public cul-de-sac, because that's a maintenance headache. But it would, I don't know
Involving any new
if we allow private roads, then they're just
Well,
responsible for
the question is, could the proposed driveway for proposed Lot 3 be a cul-de-sac and lots 1 and 2 be rearranged to front on that cul-de-sac?
Right.
So they were more squarish rather than rectangulish and
Oh.
still,
So that-
and
would
still
that-
fit within the bulk
Law
requirements.
prohibits.
What does?
Well, so in order to get that reduced bulk requirements under the new sewer law, you have to be a minor subdivision. In order to be a minor subdivision, among other things, you can't have any new street or road. So even if it's a private street or road, once you're constructing that road, then you're triggered into a major subdivision.
So are these subdivision provisions we're talking about, which we can then waive, or are these zoning requirements which we can't waive?
This is the definition of subdivision.
So,
So it's a zoning requirement.
well, some minor subdivision, the definitions in the subdivision regulations And typically, the subdivision regulations, there's certain things we can waive, although those are usually improvements.
Yeah, I don't
as
think you
opposed
could
to
waive
process.
the actual definition of what's a,
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a way to get around having to do a major, but also having, for what, again, it's up to the board, what I think might be a nicer layout, rather than having these houses front right to Seven Springs. It is a busy road. It'd be nice if they came off of a shared access drive of some sort. Because I think that would also be safer for the kids and for everybody else who's going to be living in this little neighborhood. And you could only get this many units out of that property?
Yes, this is pretty much maximized as per the interpretation by the building inspector, where we went with the central sewer facilities line on the bulk regulations.
Can we do a shared driveway? Do we allow shared driveways?
Town shared access has to be via private road or public road.
That's our town law or in general?
No, that's the
New York town law?
Town of Monroe,
Town of Monroe.
town road law, correct.
Well, we have two projects, Eagle View and Meadow Hill, where both were proposing or propose a shared apron, curb cut, and then once you get onto the lot, it has to be split into two separate driveways. So the question is, would that be feasible, at least for lots 1 and 2 here, and eliminate one of the three entrances onto Seven Lakes?
This wasn't a scenic road, is it?
I don't think so.
Roads, is it? Code, not work. But the
might potentially town law 280A issue if you were trying to do a shared driveway for all three.
unless you had like little, we don't allow flag lots, right?
Well, this is essentially, I mean, you don't allow rear dwellings.
Allow dwellings behind.
Exactly. So you could potentially get away with maybe one driveway entrance if,
You're saying like one central curb cut in the middle, and then from there, pretty much 3 separate driveways?
Make sure you speak.
Oh, sorry about that.
Having problems with the mics, Mr. George. Yeah, no, but while I was speaking directly into it, it was like, it felt like it was coming on and off.
So, geez, that's so loud.
If it was a scenic road, the planning board may require shared entrances of adjoining driveways to minimize the number of curb cuts along a scenic road. Where a shared entrance is proposed, the planning board may allow driveways to be located within required side yards. That's 57-21.4F2. But the question is, but it doesn't, scenic roads portion of the code doesn't list which ones are scenic codes, so it has to be in the comp
To go to the
plan.
comp plan.
Yeah.
Seven Springs Mountain Road is a scenic road, but Seven Springs Road is not. So I think Sean was asking whether there could be a shared entrance with all three where they moved that stem on Lot 3 to the middle. But I don't know that then they'd be able to comply with the prohibition of rear dwellings. I don't know where they'd be able to put or how to do the layout so that the dwelling in the back is not behind one of.
The 50-foot plus the side yard setbacks on each should give you enough room. It would be 80 feet, right?
Yeah, I'd imagine it could be.
The width of the rear dwelling would not be greater than 80 feet, I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah, it's only the footprint of the building which needs to be not directly behind the
Correct.
building in front of it, right? Okay.
That's scenic.
Been there lately.
Its own way.
All right, so where are we on this? What are our thoughts? So in the best of all worlds, I think it would be great to have them off of some shared access way, whatever we call it,
Understood.
and then have them next to each other. And it could perhaps allow for a wider lot, and they wouldn't be smack on Seven Springs. So, and then you're only getting one curb cut. Is that county road? Or it's town road?
Yeah, I believe it's town.
Town?
Yes.
So now you don't have three curb cuts, you have one.
Okay, yeah, I'm open to exploring different options. I mean, I'll consult
maybe-
with the applicant, and then maybe we find the best option in terms of site distance and kind of stem off from that, you know.
On and
Sure,
how it might be.
sounds great.
It's not about the number of units, it's just more about, again, I think a better layout, which would be better for
Understood.
your,
Right.
I think for your client.
Okay,
Okay?
sure.
All right. Any other comments? Oh, this is yours.
Oh, I didn't know I was taking it all the way. Any other comments? Any other questions?
No, none at this time.
Terrific. I think we've got a direction then.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Happy holidays.
And you.
Happy holidays. Holidays.
Yeah.
All right, so, do we have to do 94? Okay. That was already on minutes. 94 Seven Springs Road. Hello.
Hi, my name is Shlomi Gelb from Hartman Design. I'm here for 94 Springs
Okay.
Road. We was in front of the board a few months ago, and we had a letter with all the comments, and we worked on all the comments, and everything is addressed. And we are back here to have if any comments, and if we can go for approval.
So that would be very quick. We appreciate your enthusiasm and positivity. So I'm going to open up the engineer's comments first. So in general, where are we with this?
So this is a two-family dwelling being proposed to replace an existing single-family. The comment number 2 discusses the item we were just discussing on 127, where they are eligible for the reduced lot size and setbacks because on septic system because they are within the sewer district. This lot is very large, so that was never really an issue, but I'm just letting the applicant make them aware that they are eligible for reduced lot dimensions. So number 3, I'm asking them to update the building envelope to show that they can, those reduced dimensions, because they currently show the larger ones for septic system. So our office did review deep pits and percolation tests on the site. We've reviewed the septic design. The design is generally in compliance with our field observations and the design manual. I just had a couple minor, more or less, typos on the plans for the calculations that were provided. But that being said, I think the design of the septic system meets the requirements. Number 6 is about the portion of the lot is located within the town's road right-of-way, that portion should be dedicated to the town so that they own the land beneath the town road. Comment number 7, the applicant provided a water well completion report that I'll say is partially complete. So really what we're looking for is to demonstrate that the existing well can supply enough water, the 880 gallons per day that you're proposing, given that the existing well hasn't produced that much for this single-family dwelling. Number 8 is making sure that there's enough parking on the site. I believe it's 2 spots are required for each dwelling, so those will need, they don't necessarily have to be striped, but they have to be, demonstrate that 4 cars can be parked there without blocking one of the cars. The applicant submitted the plans to SHPO, and they got a determination back that they will not impact archaeological or historic resources on November 1st. I believe last time the applicant was here, Ashley had a comment that the EAF should be updated, that it should not be multifamily, but 2-family dwelling. And then the applicant should note that how many bedrooms and the square footage of each dwelling and floor should be delineated on the plans. The tree preservation plan is going to be triggered since it's a site plan special use permit, so we'll need a tree preservation plan. Again, 13 and 14 are, and 15 are the technical comments on septic. Driveway cross-section for the driveway that's construction. 17 is asking about drainage roadway to make sure that driveway. And again, 18 is more technical comments on the driveway, curb cut. 19, we're within 500 feet of the village of Curious Joel's boundary, so it'll have to go to county planning, and then we should discuss seeker with Ashley.
Starting on GML, actually, you did sign that agreement with Orange County, so I think this would fall under that exemption for site plan or special permit for a duplex home on an approved lot. I'd ask last time that the EAF be, the description of the action be modified to clarify that it's a two-family dwelling, not a multifamily. If you could also update the plan to label the dwelling as a two-family. And the entity disclosure form also needs to be completed. It was missing the list in section B, that was blank. In order to get the, show you could meet the criteria for the special use permit for a two-family dwelling, you have to show the wastewater system is, has been verified by the engineer. A single driveway is required, so you do have a single driveway, but if you could label the width of the driveway to show that it doesn't exceed the maximum that's permitted under the special permit, which I believe is 24 feet, where within the front yard. And then also there's a provision on the protection of woodland character. So except as necessary to provide a driveway and utilities, there shall be no grading or removal of natural vegetation for the first 50% of the required front yard closest to the front lot line. The planning board may require reasonable assurances, including a landscape plan, conservation easement, or other assurances as are necessary to maintain the woodland character of this area to the town. Where a lot has been cleared of trees and is proposed for use as a two-family, the planning board shall require supplemental plantings to restore the natural wooded appearance of the front yard. So Tron had mentioned how you need to submit the tree plan under the tree preservation law, and that will likely help the board evaluate the, this criteria of the special use permit as well.
Type 2 action.
Yes.
So, because we talked about updating the EAF, but do we need to if it's a type 2 action?
Yes, that's true, actually.
So, yeah, I think with seeker, if we designate type 2, I think.
Yeah, you don't need to,
We don't have to make changes to the short environmental assessment form.
but the plan should label the dwelling as two-family. And if the board wanted to this evening classify, I don't believe you did that last time, classify the action as type 2 under seeker. And it will require a public hearing.
Do you have any building plans or anything that shows what it looks like, or the floor plans or anything? I'm just curious. Did you submit to the building department?
Not yet. We have preliminary floor plans, but they didn't finish it because before they, if it's not required, but if you want to see it.
Yeah, it'd just be nice
Okay.
to see it so that when we go to the public hearing, people know what they're looking at, and we'll have a floor plan, and I just think
Okay.
it's useful if you could submit that. So,
We have architectural review on an
Actually-
application like this?
I don't know that,
I think because it's not a single family.
okay.
So we need elevations.
Is for any site plan, special use permit, or subdivision application other than for a single-family detached dwelling. So we do. My spidey senses were telling me we should ask for architecturals.
Is this called a two-family or single-family detached dwelling?
A single-family detached doesn't require it. For two families, we do architectural review.
So, two townhouses attached with a firewall, is this called a single-family detached or
This would be a two.
two-family?
The architectural review provisions, that's 57-31 of the code. If you could take a look at that and what it requires, elevations, materials.
Okay, and regarding the, to give a part of the lot, the 50 feet easement, from the right of way to delegate to the town, what we should do about it?
Well, this isn't being, it's not a subdivision, so it wouldn't be, when you file a subdivision, that's automatically, but even in that case, you usually require a written offer of dedication to be filed with the county in a form that's acceptable to the town, and then the town's able to accept that dedication.
If they can, yeah.
So we have just to make a note that, and make and send to the,
I think
I
we
think
would
for
make
now,
it a
you could show on the
condition.
plan
Yeah.
that it's proposed to be dedicated to the town of Monroe, and then at the time of any approval, you could specify how to go about that dedication.
If I can make a suggestion, a surveyor is going to have to describe the meets and bounds of the property that's going to be or dedicated, so it might be beneficial to get them involved now.
okay. And also the setbacks has to be from the proposed potential new lot line after dedication for the town.
Typically, I would recommend that this setbacks be from the existing line because they're offering for dedication. We're talking about the front yard, right? Because they're offering to change that. Typically, I would say from the existing lot line, not the proposed, because they're giving the town a piece of property. I'm not sure it really affects the application at all, whether or not they
Correct.
show it from the old or the new, but I leave that to the planning board.
Property, so.
Right.
Regarding the tree plan, the tree removal plan, we had on this, on the latest plan. Yes.
So it's, the yard front definition says it's situated between the street line and the front lot line. And the front line of the nearest portion of the building, and then street line. Right of way.
So on the tree plan, I recognize you identified all the trees, but we need the size, the diameter of the tree, and type, and which ones are going to be removed. And typically, we see that in a chart. What is it? Chapter 5784.
So I would say with regard to the street right-of-way and the setback, if for any reason they were going to widen the street, that means the house is going to be closer to the road. So you might want to set it back farther just so it doesn't affect you, and your house. So that would be my suggestion. If you have to make changes to the map anyway, you might want to set it back the 10 feet. Because I think that's better for you in the long run.
Honestly,
Okay.
this is all the way against the rear yard, so
Okay.
the front, it's not going to affect really where his house is laid out.
Oh, okay, because I
Yeah,
thought you
for this
said,
application.
It was really just a question, he's got to revise the building envelope. He's asking whether or not to show it from the existing lot line
oh,
or the
okay,
proposed.
sorry. Got it.
Okay, so I can have to go over all the comments. And I can come back with a.
So I think this-
address.
So I think this evening we can resolve that this is a type 2 action, so there won't be any more seeker. So I'll make a motion that we designate this proposed action, which is construction of a 2-family dwelling as a type 2 action, which is exempt from seeker. May I have a second?
Second.
Noreen?
Nick Napoli,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Bonnie Franson,
Aye.
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Dylan Penn.
Aye.
Okay, so seeker's done. And then they need a public hearing?
It will, I have an outstanding question on the well, existing well, whether or not that'll produce enough water for the increased demand. I would question that for the board, whether or not you feel comfortable scheduling the public hearing with that outstanding.
So what does he need to submit?
His engineer's opinion, their own testing, that they can meet the average day demand, 880 gallons per day, with the existing.
We have submitted some, we did some.
Right, again,
testing, so what's
so
the-
I saw you submitted that partially completed well log. Really, all that told us was how deep the well was. It didn't tell us any pump demand, whether or not the existing well could keep up with the demand that will be placed on the well.
So this well was installed, and it's under 12, because you probably looked at these forms before. It says flowing, and you can check yes or no, and it says no. Does that mean no water came out of it?
Means they didn't test it at the time that they did that report.
Okay. So, okay.
That was just
They just literally sunk the well, and that was it?
all that report says is that there's a front page to that. I think you're on the second page. Does it have the diagram of the well on the right-hand side?
Yeah.
Yeah. So really, all that report is telling us is that I think it was 360 feet deep or something like that.
680,
Oh, 680. Wow.
and the groundwater starts at 100 feet.
Right. So,
It basically says there's a well.
and where the static water level is.
Right.
It doesn't tell us even where the pumping water level is.
So just to speed up if we're gonna submit well testing, which is gonna work for you before the next meeting, and if you're reviewing that it works, can we now schedule a public hearing in advance? Or we have to wait till the next planning board and then wait for a public hearing?
So, my thought is if we wanted to entertain a public hearing, just to keep it moving, I would say at a public hearing, but subject to well information, architectural, but I don't.
That's fine, as long as it's subject
I
to.
just don't know that there's enough time.
What are our timeframes? Our
Mission is, I am not back to the office till till January 2nd.
That's okay. But my question more is
Regular meeting is the 16th.
when would publish a
5 days before the hearing, so you should be okay. And it needs to be mailed 10 days and sent to adjacent municipalities 10 days too. So I think that would be enough, because publication's just 5 days, so.
We don't have to worry about seeker, we don't have to worry about GML review. So it's, if we did the public hearing, but we'd have to say subject to getting architectural, and we'll probably leave it open if we don't have everything, if we have enough, but not really everything. Architectural, and we need evidence that you have sufficient water. On sewer? Central sewer?
We have
Septic.
Septic? Okay.
Which they generally comply with the design requirements.
They're
and
not, they're not in the sewer district up there?
They're in the sewer district.
No line?
But there's no line.
Okay. Unless you think differently, yeah.
No, I don't think differently. No, I just want to mention two things that I noticed in reviewing the stuff today. Yeah, I also agree that we should update and where it should say 2 units rather than multifamily, but can we also get what the square footage per floor is on the site plan? I think that just gives us a better understanding of what the scale of the building is. And so because it's labeled grading and utility plan, I noticed there's no provision for electric, and the buildings that are there now are, if I understand correctly, are defunct. They're remains, so there's not electric running to those buildings currently. I think we ought to see where the electric line is going to run, or is that not necessary? And primarily, I was thinking about that in relation to possible tree removal.
That's a good point, and it's not something that, or I'm sorry, it's something that you have required in the past where the electric is going specifically for scenic road, but for the tree removal, that's a good point. We should understand where that is going to be buried.
It's just going to help you be able to show us maybe why certain trees have to be removed if we knew that there was the electrical line there. So I would recommend adding that as well.
Okay.
But other than that, I'm on the same page as you are as far as going about scheduling a public hearing and moving forward based on those provisions.
Anybody else? Any reaction? You're okay? Public hearing?
Clarify, would it be, you would schedule it subject to receipt of those things before, so it won't get noticed unless you have
Correct.
the architecture and the well?
Correct.
Okay.
Disturbance?
They are shown. They are under an acre, and actually I commented that they are pretty liberal in their depicting, so I feel confident that they will be less than an acre.
Okay, and just so you're aware, because we'll have a tree fee, right? So you may want to really consider how much area you show as limits of disturbance to save yourself some money.
Okay, thank you.
And that'll mean you save trees and we'll be good. We like trees. I do, anyway. All right, so what we're going to do is we will schedule a public hearing, but subject to you getting us
The well with
Well,
the architectural
an architectural and was there
floor
anything else?
plans, and also I will make sure at that time to improve all the notes, all the comments.
Perfect.
Floor plans? Elevations,
Elevation.
yeah,
Everything that's
whatever is
required
required
under
under
the
that
By
part of the law.
chapter.
Okay?
Okay.
And so we will notice it if we receive all that information. So this is subject to, it would be held on January 16th, 2024, 6 PM or as soon thereafter.
So the date when I have to submit everything is December 28th?
Should get it December 28th. Noreen will be away, but she'll process it when she gets back in.
Okay.
Okay? So just be aware when you may not hear anything right away because Noreen will be out.
Okay.
All right? So I will make that motion. May I have a second?
A second.
Noreen?
Napoli,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Bonnie Franson,
Aye.
Pat Shea.
Aye. Aye.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much for
You're
your
welcome.
help and be here tonight, and we'll hope to see you in January 16th.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a
You
good
know
night.
what you have to do. All right. So next item on the agenda are minutes. So Ashley and Sean, anything we need to cover? Do you want to do your, oh, we have to do the,
Not on
okay.
the agenda, but I can add it so it can get in the minutes. You should, did everybody
get the, it hasn't changed, the schedule?
Just the one comment that Sean made, I had the wrong date on something, but I
Okay.
fixed that on the tech review.
So our schedule
Yeah, I can't speak, I'm sorry.
for us,
going on
for us
tonight.
English aficionados. So that was sent around to everybody today.
Yes.
And again, it just maintains the same time and the same dates. Everybody good with the time still? Would you prefer a little later, or are you good? I know you don't, but it's like 6:30, or you're okay with 6? I just want to make sure everybody's still good with the time.
6:30 would be a little less pressing on the evening.
Yeah?
I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels. I can do 6, but
I'd be
it's-
okay with 6:30. I
One
would be
thing though,
okay.
for January 16th,
If
But
we
it could
do,
just
if
be
we
that
do
one-
this for January, it'd have to be 6, but if we want to change to 6:30, I'm okay with that. And anybody else?
How does the rest of the board feel? So
For
what we're
meetings.
talking about is possibly doing our meetings starting at 6:30 rather than 6, with the exception of January 16th, where we've already moved to have a public hearing. I mean, the rest of you, do you find that you're pressed for time at all in getting here at 6, or 6 is...
I'll probably be
Be-
pressed at 6:30
Listen,
too.
the advantage
but
of
no-
6, of course, is that we
Yeah,
get out earlier.
But 6:30 isn't any worse off, so if it works better for 6:30, I vote for 6:30.
I'm cool with that.
So then we will make a motion to approve the 2024 Planning Board meeting schedule for the dates set forth on that schedule, except for, and they will be held at 6:30 PM except for January 16th. And I guess probably the first meeting too, right? The 16th is the second meeting? So the meetings in January will be 6 PM, and then starting in February, meetings will be at 6:30. That's my motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Noreen? She doesn't get the vote. Aye.
Now I feel bad, Noreen.
You don't feel that bad.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Dylan Penn.
Aye.
All
I'll just
right.
be mad at y'all.
So even if you say no, motion carries.
Okay, then no.
So 6:30. And we'll have to let Lou know. Lou knows. We'll have to let
He's
Bob
sitting
know.
right- Yeah, I'll let Bob know.
All right, so, okay, so anything we need to talk about? No, okay. So you are free to go. I don't know how many minutes we have. Do we have minutes?
I have a pile of them, but I'm not sure what you have because I haven't gotten corrections back from you. So
I
don't
sent some
think-
corrections.
I made those, but I don't know, I haven't gotten recent ones on,
So we have to absolutely do this first meeting of January, because that's what we did last time. But we can't let this continue to go. What's the last date that we have?
you have all the way through October 7th,
So we don't have November.
17th.
See ya.
Good night,
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
Bye,
Hey,
Merry
see you
Christmas,
later, Ashley.
Happy
Merry Christmas.
holidays, Happy New Year.
See you next year. Yeah.
All right, so do we want to try May 11th? Do we want to try and tackle some of these?
I don't know whether anybody remembers them.
We should, let me go to my minutes. Doop.
Apparently the ones,
May 11th is the oldest.
the ones that we've been carrying over.
Yeah, let's see what we have.
And
5/11? I had revised that one, see?
Actually, I see.
Okay, so let's see, we have, we can approve these because we have the people.
I don't see my
Great.
You're
absent.
under
or-
absent. May 11th, you were absent.
Well, it's not there.
I'm looking right at it.
Ours says Robert and Louis Rivera is absent. I don't see Pat. Not on the version I have. And then I have members present.
Probably
You got to get better at this, Noreen.
I'm looking right at it. It says Pat Shea is absent.
This is the version that I have in my to-be-approved October 2023, date modified 6/8/2023. So from now on, you have to put a date at the bottom of them. So mine is
Love you guys.
5/11/20.
First.
I just reprinted today, so mine showed today's dates.
Definitely had revised. What is the date on your? Maybe you did, because these are my edits here. And I said, who said this? Went through it, maybe you.
Subject to?
Yeah, so let's approve them, subject to adding, you were absent?
I don't know.
I have him down as absent.
If Noreen says it, then
And then,
I go by the video.
did you make the edits that I had sent?
If that one's,
Because, for instance, I said, who said this? One of the planning board's comments was to consider revised locations at any reduced impacts.
that's out.
Yours must be updated from what I have. So make sure yours includes my edits.
And on April
I'll send you.
January 2nd, I'll resend everything out with revisions in one packet to be
Let's do
done
May
at the
11th
11th.
right- Let's do May 11th right now.
Okay.
All right. Someone want to make a motion to approve May 11th, subject to the revisions that the chairwoman has and as updated by Noreen? I have to send these back.
on a motion?
Yes, please.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Noreen?
Napoli,
Absent?
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Wasn't he absent?
Bonnie Franson,
Aye.
Pat Shea.
But you can make the motion to approve the meeting
Oh,
minutes.
that's right.
Bonnie made the motion.
I'll
You
make
said-
No,
Second
no,
it.
no, I actually made the motion.
He made the
so
motion. I'll make the motion.
I
Someone
reversed that
second it,
motion.
please? Someone second?
Second.
Thank you. Dylan seconds.
Good catch.
Nick Napoli,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Bonnie Franson,
Aye.
Pat Shea, Steve,
Absent.
Dylan Penn.
Aye.
All right. So all right, so what's next? I just want to put on my little minutes here. Boop. June 20th.
Barbara did.
Barbara?
No, not June 20th. This says 6:20. This isn't Barbara. Barbara doesn't do them like this.
Barbara Singer's name right on there.
Is she like that? Have a very short version of it?
No. Verbatim.
And these are the ones. All right, so they're verbatim. So we can all do this one. So may I have a motion to approve the June 20th, 2023 Planning Board meeting minutes?
So moved.
Ooh.
So moved.
So moved
Call
to-
it Nick, I'll second.
Nathan, Jeff.
Dylan Penn,
Aye.
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Ronnie Franson,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Nick Napoli.
Okay, these are the ones Barbara did, you said?
Yes.
Okay. I could swear she had shorter version. Swear to God.
It was in the hot.
All right, July 18th. Here's the 18th.
Nick was out, so, yeah. Robert sat in for him, but you still have 4.
So, motion to,
So moved.
Second.
Dylan Penn,
Aye.
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Ronnie Franson,
aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Nick Napoli.
Absent.
Abstain.
Absent, so you. August 10th. August 10th. Wait, August 10th, you said?
Gets it in Word, so it's different than you guys.
I got it 9:30. Jeff, Pat. Owen Drive.
I don't have it.
Second.
Napoli,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Bonnie Franson, Dylan Penn,
Aye.
Pat Shea.
Absent. Abstain.
In August 29th, it's not on the list. It was the special meeting. I don't know why it's not on there. The special meeting we had for Summercrest.
It's August when?
I'm sorry.
August 29th. I have it in Word.
Yeah, but you're the only one that gets. Pat, do you have it?
Did you know when you sent it? No.
No, I'm not
Mine
looking.
is 10/17, so yours would have been around October.
Agenda from you.
It would have been around the time you get your word. Yep. Number 4.
December.
Oh, so that wasn't even on,
No, it wasn't.
act on things.
Not sure if the 14th and 19th were. I would believe that the next two are tabled.
And I also suggest, Noreen, that on the subject, if you could always include minutes. Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't, so. Searching.
All right, so just send everybody. That.
Moved.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Motion carries. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
I have a Christmas